What's up, everyone? We got some Chinese food here, so we got a good variety right here. So we got one of my favorite vegetables at a Chinese restaurant you can order: dry fried string beans. So got some kung pao chicken as well, and my favorite of all of these dishes is this pork belly dish right here. It's um, sautéed with a bunch of chilies in there as well, and then we got some beef too. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay. Mm-hmm. My gosh, my hair has been like really disgusting. As you see how long these sides are. It's so gross. Can't wait to get a haircut. But actually, I've been always wanting to try a longer hairstyle. Before I was kept my hair short because I was too lazy to style my hair. I still don't even style my hair. But yeah, I always wanted to grow out my hair and try a longer hairstyle. So maybe this is the chance to do so. Damn, my hair's so long. You know those movies with like the crazy quacky doctors, man? That's what I look like. Jeez. Damn. So actually, the place I ordered this Chinese food from yesterday, these are actually leftovers actually, but it's a place called Royal Feast. I believe it's in Millbrae, a little outside of San Francisco. And yep, the Chinese food's pretty solid. If you want to give it a chance, check it out. But yeah, but definitely this type of Chinese cuisine, I think it's Sichuan cuisine. If you're familiar with Sichuan cuisine, usually the main ingredient is Sichuan peppers, right? They use that with a lot of the dishes, and generally, if more on the spicier side. But definitely, you have to with these type of dishes. Generally, they're a little oily, of course, but it's always nice to have a little rice on the side to balance it out. So let's talk about Rick and Morty episode 8. So the episode opens up with Rick and Morty going to this acid factory plant, meeting up some alien mobsters to trade some crystals with. And before they go in, Rick explains to Morty there's a fallback plan. If something goes awry, I've created an area of fake acid where we can jump in and fake our deaths. And Morty is like, what, these stupid ideas? You never like any of mine. So he's kind of throwing a fit, but eventually they go along. And of course, once they meet the alien mobster, he double crosses him, pulls out a gun, of course. And of course, Rick and Morty have to follow Rick's plan of jumping into the fake acid. And he has everything set up. He has a switch for lifting up fake bones, as well as like a ray gun to shoot in case they try to test if the acid is real. And eventually the mobsters, I don't know why, they stick around for quite some time and feel kind of sad that actually Rick would actually bring his own grandson to his death. So Morty's had enough of this. The mobsters are there too long, and he eventually shoots them. And Rick also follows suit, killing the rest of the mobsters. And as the ride back home is kind of an awkward one, Morty's still a little agitated that Rick doesn't like any of his ideas. And, tensions are high. And eventually Morty tries to push Rick's buttons, saying that he can't create this device where if you're a video game fan, you know that there are save points where you can resume. Like much like in Pokemon, you press save, you turn off your device, turn it back on, and you're right where you just saved you at your saving point. So he wants to make this device into a device where he can do that in reality, where he can go back in time and redo things he wanted to do in the first place. So Morty's pushing Rick's buttons, and eventually he gets to him, and Rick spends all night creating this device, and he succeeds. And here we go off in this other tangent where Morty goes off the walls using this device. So he uses anything. The first thing, I'm not sure if he did, was pantsing his math teacher in class, and all he has to do with the touch of a button is go back in time and just erase it all. And then he also he goes to the ice cream store and tries every flavor. And then he actually does something really mean. He pushes off the old man off his wheelchair, but he rewinds and actually helps him cross the street the next time. But actually, Morty actually meets a really nice girl at a coffee shop, and the two end up dating each other. And they actually go on a vacation, but unfortunately the plane crashes and most of the passengers die, and Morty and his girlfriend are struggling to survive. And if you remember, they kind of make a reference to the horrific accident of, I believe, some rugby players. The airplane crashed in the Andes Mountains, and they had to, in order to survive, they had to eat the bodies of the dead passengers on board as well. And I believe Morty and his girlfriend did as well. Okay, let's get some more to eat. Oh, I forgot to mention. So in the midst of this plane crash, Morty was separated from his device that allows him to go back to a certain set point, right? So he makes a journey by himself, where the tail end of the airplane is a great distance from where he's at. So he goes by himself and eventually gets around to his backpack holding his remote device. So Morty has two options here, right? He could obviously press the button and go back to the set point so none of this happens. Or he can try to call for help, and in doing so, help may arrive in time or may not. But Morty decides to choose to call 911, and eventually a helicopter comes by to save them. And then they live a pretty happy life. Things go back to normal, and Morty realized that the time that he spent with his girlfriend was more important than, just for sure thing of trying to survive, right? And if you know Rick and Morty, the narrative of the show that there's never a happy ending, which this is kind of dumb. I believe Morty just left out his remote, and his dad happens to come across it and presses the button. Now, Morty is sent back to the time just before he meets his girlfriend at the coffee shop. And, of course, he's really pissed. And then Rick, later talks to Rick, and Rick reveals to Morty the dark side of his consequences using this device. So this device is not an all-powerful device where you can just go back time to a certain set point. There's consequences of using this device. So every time Morty used it, the Morty in that particular dimension was killed off as a result every time. So Morty killed countless Mortys from different dimensions, and of course Morty's deeply regretting it. And then eventually, I believe a mob comes right in front of Rick and Morty, saying that doing these protests. I believe they probably found out what he did, kind of, and then Rick had an area of fake acid where Morty could jump into, which is kind of ironic, right? And of course, Morty has to. This is the only way for him to escape this angry mob, so he does so. And eventually, everyone leaves, and there are two policemen, and they wanted to test the acid, of course, too, right? And they have a ladle, and then Rick's kind of joking around. It's definitely not a huge tub of Mountain Dew, right? And Morty has everything there when they encountered the alien mobsters in the beginning. So I believe one of the cops tried to test the acid, and Morty uses the ray gun, but instead of shooting the ladle, he shoots one of the cops, and then Rick's like, "Damn it! I had to kill the other cop as well." So yeah, they kill both of the cops right there, and they go back to their own dimension, I believe. So here's what I kind of learned from this episode. Rick, right? You better not say that any of his ideas are stupid. He'll do whatever it takes, even going this far, to shove it down your throat to prove a point. And actually, Morty learned a really good lesson as well, because he realized that using the device without any consequences was not really worthwhile, right? Life is about going through these experiences and learning from your mistakes, and how you can look back on it and do the right thing in the future. So, if you could do everything the way you wanted to in your life, like go back in time and redo something, life would be somewhat boring, right? You can't have everything go your way. Life's supposed to be, life is hard, right? So, yeah, that's what these lessons I took away from Rick and Morty episode 8. I thought it was pretty good. And I actually got around to watching the rest of the episodes, and in a few videos from now, I'll definitely go over these episodes as well. But yeah, that's it for today's Mukbang. Thank you for watching. Peace.